Well, hello everyone. My name is Dara Rath and I'm the pastor at Faith Lutheran Church in Port Elgin, Ontario, Canada. And each week I bring you a story. It takes about 5 minutes to watch. Sometimes they're funny and sometimes they're more serious. This one is a funny one and I know for sure that you're going to identify with this story. It's a story called The Keys and it's written by Becky Campbell Smith. And it's in a book called Too Funny by Amy Newmark. I was using my husband's car to bring our daughter home from summer camp when we stopped for gas. I realized that I drove his car so rarely that I didn't know how to open his gas tank. A woman waiting in line behind me was giving up all sorts of impatient vibes, so I was feeling extra pressure to get the gas pump speedily. After making several fruitless attempts to open the gas lid, I finally called Steve. I'm sure the woman was wondering what my problem was. First, I couldn't even open my own gas tank. Then, for no obvious reason, I stopped trying and started chatting on my cell phone. After Steve told me about the magic button I had to push inside the car, I pumped the gas and hurried to get the car moved. Everything was going along swimmingly until I realized that I had no keys. They were gone, evaporated. After a cursory glance around the gas pump area, I realized I was going to have to confess to the lady behind. I walked back and got ready to make the motion of rolling down the window so I could tell her what was going on. And then it occurred to me that she probably was so young that she'd never rolled down a window in her life. Therefore, she would have no idea what I was talking about. Well, I got so completely befuddled about the fact that I didn't know the current method for asking someone to open their window that I just stood dumbly outside her car in a little puddle of misery. She finally took pity on me and opened her window a crack. When I gave her my speech about having lost my keys, she rolled her eyes and moved to another line. I continued my search, thinking the keys must have fallen behind the seat or had been put back in my purse. Nothing. I asked Sarah, who was watching the whole thing with wide eyes, if she could get out and look underneath the car. Well, she bends a whole lot easier than I do. No keys. The temp was near 100. I was quickly discovering that my deodorant was not doing what it was touted to do. I could feel the sweat forming under my arms and the heat rising in my cheeks. To make the whole situation even more scintillating, I saw that a second car had pulled up behind us, this time driven by a man. I thought, oh great, this will make his whole day. He's about to be told by a dizzy woman who has lost her keys in the process of pumping gas. I pictured scrolling down my mental litany. Do I make the roll down window gesture? Is he old enough to know what that means? Do I smile? Do I wave? Do I really want to make this speech all over again? Thankfully, when I got to his truck, I was spared the whole rolling window down speech because his window was already open. The only thing left was the speech, which sounded ridiculous even to my ears. I could see in his eyes the same thing the young woman was thinking. What a wacky, absent-minded woman. How could someone lose their keys while pumping gas? I offered him one last weak smile and stepped away from his truck so he could back up and get in line somewhere else. This particular fellow, however, was there for the duration. He turned off the engine and settled back to wait and watch. I thought, oh great, now not only can't I find my keys, but I'm also going to have an audience watch me not be able to find them. But this time I was positive that I was losing my sanity. I mean, I'm 46 years old and my memory is not what it used to be, but surely I would have remembered if some criminal type had walked up to me and stolen the keys out of my hand. I even walked over to the garbage can and looked in to see whether some wild moment of premenopausal brain smashing had caused me to absent-mindedly toss them in there. I got back in the car and attempted to gather my wits. Alas, they were not to be gathered. I went through the routine again, looking in every place that I had already looked. The guy behind me had his chin propped in his hands, viewing the whole sorry scenario like he was watching an interesting TV show. I was about to find a couple of guys to help me push the car out of the way when a woman and a man pulled up on a motorcycle on the other side of the pumps. While the man started pumping gas, the woman slowly became aware of my frenetic circling, mumbling, and sweating. When I caught her puzzled look in my direction, I said feebly, "I lost my keys." And that was all it took. Immediately, I knew I had a comrade. There was no "this is a scatterbrained woman" look in her eyes. She was sympathetic and, better yet, willing to help me look. The first place she checked, in the garbage can. I just wanted to hug her. She completely understood that the brain sometimes compels us to do illogical things. Not finding anything in the garbage, she circled around the far side of the pumps and approached my car from behind. Then she stopped and she smiled and she said, "Here they are." And there they were indeed. The keys were hanging in my car door. I had unlocked the car to get my cell phone, and since I hadn't closed the door again, I never noticed them. I smiled, I laughed, I almost cried. And then I said to my new best friend, "I'm so thankful it was a woman who discovered the keys and not a man." She gave me a conspiratorial wink and a smile, and without another word, she got back on the motorcycle and her fella and rode away. I pulled the keys out of the door, held them up to the guy behind me, and yelled, "I found them!" He straightened in his seat, beamed at me, burst into wild applause, as though his team had just made the winning touchdown. Who knows, if my new best friend hadn't shown up, I might still be out there mumbling and sweating and circling and searching. Forget about the keys to happiness. Never mind about the keys to fulfillment. I'm just ecstatic to have the keys to my car. Now, how many times have you looked and looked and looked for your keys and found them in the front door? I've done it many times, and so has my husband. We unlock the door but don't take the keys out, and then we close the door, and then when we're going to leave again, we're looking all over for those keys, and there they are, right in the front door. I think we lose our cell phone. I have to get somebody to call my number so that I can find it. It just goes on and on and on. So we can really identify with this story. It's quite funny. So thanks for taking 5, and blessings on your day.